Hey guys, Tarke here. I'm going to show you some updates on my pure walking no buttons allowed build. But before I do that, I just want to quickly show you my new socks. These were a Christmas gift from Gull, and she put my little Gull thing on them, which is pretty cool. So, you know, maybe if we get some slave labour, get some of that Gull merch going, Hog Champ. Anywho, let's get into the build stuff. It's actually the second time I've recorded this video. Tired, by the way, disabled, by the way. To give you a quick update on what's going on before I get into the build stuff. TLDR Crones, I have infusions every 8 weeks. These knock out my immune system. I was meant to have one on Christmas. I couldn't have one on Christmas because the day unit ward was closed because it was Christmas. I then got a really bad chest infection, which you all know about, and that knocked me out. And I can't have an infusion, which weakens my immune system when I'm battling a chest infection. So I only actually had this thing on Monday, meaning it was about 2.5 weeks late, meaning that my Crohn's is actually pretty active at the moment. On top of that, Gull has flown over from Ireland and is visiting for the next 2 weeks, or about a week and a half now. So the fact that I'm feeling pretty rank, and the fact that Gull is over visiting, I'm going to be fairly bedridden for a while. Now, that being said, I'm going to stay active on the YouTubes, and I'm also going to try my best to stream every 3-ish days. I'm going to do a stream this weekend. If you follow my... we may as well do this. If you follow my Twitter, I'll tweet before each stream, so do that if you want to not miss any streams. While they're a bit haphazard, when I'm feeling all better, when the Gull's flown back off home, stream will be back, normal, everyday struggle, by the way. So, what is this build that you're watching me just casually stroll through? This is a hidden potential build, which is meant to press as few buttons as possible. Now, after all the turmoil and mayhem activity, this might surprise you, but getting level 100 burnt me out on mapping a little bit. So I've been treating this as my wacky, let's just make silly builds league. So I'm making a silly build league. That being said, this is actually my first proper mapping character of the league. And the idea is to make a character purely designed around channel farming, to get as much movement speed as possible, and to press as few buttons as possible. Now, the obvious answer would be, well, why don't you just get an S shield, equip a light poacher, and shield charge, shield charge, shield charge? Well, then I have to press shield charge, shield charge, shield charge. I don't want to press any buttons whatsoever. I want to just purely go full-blown flask-only buttons, because I guess flasks are still buttons. But anyway, I just want to walk around with things. So to level this character, from level 12 onwards, we're using Abberath's Hooves. And I'm saying that I actually have to level this as only no buttons. The only buttons that I'm allowed to use are totems, mobility skills to get up and down ledges, and then eventually phase run, I guess. But this is also just like a personal challenge to see how far I can take a character which doesn't really press buttons. So what's the idea? So Abberath's Hooves will be used for the entire leveling process and potentially kept into the end game. Anyone who followed me during Turmoil knows that I managed to hold rank 1 occultist ladder, by the way, playing a auto decay setup. This was a modified version of a blight build I'd played, and a decay blade vortex build that Rise had played. And the idea with this would be to get a pair of Abberath's Hooves and then slap a decay setup in them. That means that every time you walk past a mob, you then apply a decay, which is fairly powerful. The decay numbers I'm looking at are about 20, 30-ish K. I'll bring up path of building stuff later, using hidden potential and basically 0 chaos scaling on the entire tree. That's just pure, just hidden potential scaling. And then stuff like despair. The good thing about that is it also opens up to potentially run Righteous Fire. So yeah, I might play a Death's Oath Righteous Fire Decay build. I can run all 3. I'm going to dual wield Obliteration Wands. Obliteration Wands, when DOS wielded, give me, I believe, a 40% chance for enemies to explode for 25% of their maximum HP as chaos damage. This is scaled by hidden potential. So yeah. The reason why I've gone a Slayer is I want Stupid Leech and I want Stupid Regen. I already have the Stupid Regen on lockdown from my skill tree. I'm looking at having close to about 1,000-ish regen, even with silly things on, like, you know, Righteous Fire and Death's Oath. Setups with both of them have slightly less. I think the setups with both only have 600. But I can do a Righteous Fire build using just Purity of Fire, no Rise of the Phoenix, no crazy shenanigans. Have 1000 positive regen, then have Slayer Leech on top of that. So the Obliteration Detonations, that is leeched. That is leechable. So we leech that with Slayer. Also, while leeching, our build is bleed immune. Since we're bleed immune and have crazy regen, that means we can go full Ride QT, only ever reading chat, or just walking up and down channel. And hopefully we'll have some pretty good stream interaction. This is like the perfect streamer build. We get to roleplay Cute Dog, farming channel all day, every day, without actually having to ever press buttons. But also being slightly hardcore viable with about 6 to 8k life, using mostly just magic items, because, you know, hidden potential, by the way. I'm also leveling with a stupid magic item-centric loot filter. You've probably noticed some rings and jewelry highlights in this fancy little white text, just so I can reliably pick up life pieces while leveling. We'll get to the next waypoint, and then I'll show you the path of building stuff that I'm kind of planning around. Now, if you look at my most recent video before this, where I was talking about Death's Oath and Righteous Fire, I showed off some like basic gameplay on how the build would maybe perform. That was on, I believe, 13.5k Death's Oath damage. And if you want that footage, just again, most recent video on my YouTube. Now let's compare it to this. So the build was reliably and quite cleanly farming up to tier 13 maps with only 13k death aura damage. This build would have, we'll round it down, that's basically 31k, we'll round it to 30k. So that is 13 compared to 30, that's quite a big difference. The Abberath's Fury have 20k decay damage. So we're looking at like 50k dot damage, the only scaling of which coming from basically Despair, which is pretty powerful. We haven't crazily invested into any like aura effect stuff. And you can see the gear is just Hidden Potential, Darkness Enthroned, Abberath's Hooves, Death's Oath, Dual Liberation, then just a bunch of blue items with mediocre life rolls. See 60, 70, 70, 60, 60. For auras, we have just enough mana reservation. We see we have 4% unreserved for a Purity of Elements, a Purity of Fire, and a Blasphemy Despair. If I can get good enough jewels, good enough gear, I don't need the Purity of Elements. That then means I can put in a different reservation there. I could maybe go for a Jewel Curse setup if I got an In Presence Amulet, whatever. The nice thing about the Purity of Elements plus the Purity of Fire, you could also potentially run a Vitality there, is Watcher's Eye. Now, I'm not planning on ever getting one of these, but I might get one. I've been tracking them. Particular mods which are good for me would include Fizz damage taken as cold damage while affected by Purity of Elements. Basically, you can get up to, I believe, 15% physical damage taken as an element while affected by Purity of Elements. You can get, I believe, up to 10% physical damage taken as fire damage while affected by Purity of Fire. You can get increased life recovery rate while affected by Vitality. This is a massive percent scaler of my life regen. Increased damage leeches life while affected by Vitality. This just helps Obliteration, Explosion Leech, or just more flat life regen. So what we could potentially do is just run a bunch of Purities and have very strong elemental and physical mitigation. Another cool thing that I'm going to do with this build is, if you see, so with both Death's Oath and Righteous Fire turned on, with only a level 20 Purity of Fire, we have 347 positive life regen with minus 40 Chaos Res. This build has a lot of life regen. Now, if we were to take off our Ruby Flask and our Divination Distillate, we go down to minus 500 life regen. But this is ignoring the fact that we have crazy amounts of Slayer Leech on top of this, and I probably won't run all three. Having just a combination of either just a Righteous Fire build or just a Death's Oath plus Decay build will be more than enough. But, you know, let's just mess around and say that we do run all three. The reason why we'd run Divination Distillate, aside from that to give us a bunch of maximum resistance, is it gives us 18% increased quantity of items found during Flask effect. If we take Mind over Matter for 1 point, and not the points behind it, we will always negatively degen more mana than we regenerate. This means we have a 100% uptime on Divination Distillate, and we have no mana leech on our build, meaning we have full uptime of this flask, which is very, very powerful. The other kind of nice thing about being a hidden potential build, and again, hidden potential gives us 25% increased damage for each magic item we have equipped, is we can potentially quite easily roll some Shaper items. Now, I've crafted quite a lot of random like Shaper quivers and all sorts. We've been corrupting them or whatever. I think I've made like 5 or 6 +1 arrow quivers. They're pretty easy to make. I'm trying to get a double, like 2 additional arrow. We haven't had one yet. We've bricked a lot of quivers doing it. But it's pretty easy to just roll random helms. Do I have any like good ones lying around? Just some random faster casting life gloves and stuff that I've made. But usually what happens when it comes to like just making, that's just some random one in process. Usually when it comes to crafting Shaper items, you either just spam chaos them or you alt roll them. Now what I can do is I can just take, for example, a like, I believe it's Shaper amulets to get quant. Let's just bring this up to be sure. Accessory amulet. Quantity is shaped mod. You can get up to 10% quant. So you can find very powerful mods and just alt roll until you hit it, right? If you hit it, we don't need to worry about then the rest of the item being good because it's hidden potential. We could just, like, if we were lucky, just hit quant and then just craft life. That'd be good enough. And that means we can do potentially some pretty cool things with, like, you know, cast on hit rings, etc., etc., etc. With Shaper mods, we can maybe do some very cool things. This build has a lot of life regen. So you see 300 regen with Death's Oath and Righteous Fire. We probably won't run the Righteous Fire as well. I mean, we'd have 700 positive life regen without Slayer Leech. Very nice AoE. We have Corpse Donation through the Obliteration ones. We have decent movement speed, 192% movement speed. We have to press any buttons. We're bleed and stun immune. Yeah, we have 6,660 life with very basic blue gear. If you decided to drop the Death's Oath and just go for a normal Righteous Fire build, for a budget chest, you could use Blood Bond, giving you even more regen. Blood Bond is like a mini belly of the beast. You can pick them up for like an alk. You could eventually just go Combs, and then you're looking at, you know, like 8k life with, if we turn Righteous Fury back on, with 1.1k positive life regen without Slayer Leech. Basically, we're looking at a pretty safe build, which doesn't require any input from me, and I can just read chat, run up and down, up and down, up and down, and yeah, we might get really bored of it, but you guys get a fun leveling series of me making, you know, the process all the way up to shaped thingamajiggy without pressing any buttons. Seems good. I'm Tarke, I will see you soon. Sorry that the stream's been a bit haphazard recently. Sadly, being very ill, plus Gull coming over to visit feels bad, man. But, boom, Gull socks. Again, I really like these socks. Feels very good, man. Should I make her a slave and start, you know, printing out Gull socks? Would people wear Gull socks? We could get, like, Gull hats. Make Rayclast Gull again or something. Anyway, I'm getting distracted. I need to have a break now. I'm Tarke. Have a good day. Bye-bye.